It is 2:20 a.m. in the freezing North Atlantic. The Titanic has just slipped beneath the surface, leaving hundreds suspended in freezing water. They are surrounded by overwhelming sensory deprivation, just the cold, the dark, and the agonizing sound of people fighting for their lives. 60 seconds after the ship disappeared, a heavy, muffled sound rumbled from beneath the waves. Survivors in these lifeboats described it as a bomb blast that shook the very water around them. There is a common misconception that once a massive ship sinks, it slowly and peacefully drifts down to the ocean floor, filling with water to rest in the sand. That is not how the Titanic story ended. This diagram shows the core engineering flaw that caused the sinking. The ship had 15 watertight bulkheads dividing its lower sections, but they lacked roofs. They only went as high as E-deck. As the bow dipped underwater, the ocean cascaded over the top of one wall into the next, spilling over until the weight dragged the front of the ship down. While that spillover effect doomed the front of the ship, it caused a very different physical reaction in the back. As the ship snapped in two, the stern became a temporarily sealed vault. It trapped thousands of cubic feet of air inside, turning it into a pressurized time bomb. When the hull finally broke under its own weight, the stern was thrust straight up into the night sky. For a terrifying minute, its enormous rudder and bronze propellers were suspended out of the water. Inside that suspended section were hundreds of people, crew members, engineers shoveling coal to keep the lights on, and third-class passengers who never found a way out. When the power failed, they were plunged into complete darkness, surrounded by groaning steel. These survivors were about to be subjected to a 60-second plunge that would test the physical limits of human biology and structural steel. The torn piece of the stern was heavy and unaerodynamic. Caught with trapped air and a massive rudder jammed at an angle, the stern spiraled downward through the water like an out-of-control helicopter blade, reaching speeds of nearly 80 kilometers an hour. For anyone trapped inside those dark, sealed rooms, the physical trauma was immediate. The room was spinning violently. Freezing water was rushing in from below, tossing them against the steel walls and ceilings in pitch darkness. This chart shows how descending into the ocean affects gas. According to Boyle's law, every 10 meters you go down, the atmospheric pressure increases by 1. As pressure goes up, the volume of a gas decreases proportionally. At just 10 meters below the surface, the air trapped inside the victim's lungs and middle ears was instantly compressed to half its original size. The sudden imbalance in pressure caused their eardrums to rupture. The physical battering was only the first phase. As the rotating stern passed the 100-meter mark, the changing chemistry of the air itself became the next threat. By 100 meters, the air becomes so dense that the partial pressure of nitrogen rises to dangerous levels. This forces the gas directly into the nervous system, where it acts like a narcotic, causing hallucinations and confusion. Simultaneously, at these pressures, even life-sustaining oxygen begins to turn toxic. Then came the 60-second mark. The stern reached a depth of 150 meters. Down here, the weight of the ocean reaches 16 atmospheres, over 100 kilograms of pressure crushing against every square inch of the hull. This diagram shows why that was a fatal problem. Deep-sea submarines are built in spheres, allowing them to evenly distribute external forces. The Titanic's bulkheads were flat steel walls, engineered only to glide along the surface of the ocean. The flat plates bowed inward, and then they failed. The stern suffered a massive implosion. Seawater breached the steel bulkheads and tore into the remaining air pockets at a speed of 2,200 feet per second. When air is compressed that aggressively, the friction generates intense heat, the diesel effect. In a fraction of a second, the temperature inside those trapped air pockets spiked to 650 degrees Celsius, instantly igniting airborne coal dust and engine oil. It is a strange paradox. 150 meters deep beneath the icy waters of the North Atlantic, the interior of the Titanic was engulfed in a 650-degree fire. There is a limit to the human nervous system. Our brains require 25 milliseconds to register an event and send a pain signal. The total structural collapse of the Titanic's stern, the steel tearing, the water rushing in, and the flash ignition, took roughly 1 single millisecond. The violence of the ocean was so fast that it outpaced biology. The victims ceased to exist before their brains could even inform them they were in danger. The wreckage itself provides the evidence. 3D scans from 2022 show a stark contrast. The bow remains recognizable on the seabed, but the stern is a chaotic field of shredded steel and collapsed decks. People often ask if anyone could have survived inside an air pocket during the descent. They point to the Nigerian sailor in 2013, who survived for 60 hours trapped inside a sunken tugboat. But that tugboat settled at a shallow depth of only 30 meters. At the Titanic's 150-meter implosion depth, the crushing physical pressures make survival a physical impossibility. This modern data matches the historical record. During the official government inquiries that followed the disaster, dozens of survivors testified to hearing a heavy, muffled explosion from beneath the water. That sound, survivors reported at 2:21 a.m., was the implosion of the stern's last air pockets. It signaled the moment 150 meters of ocean pressure finally crushed the ship's flat steel bulkheads.